Commander Blake Carter stood on the balcony of the Terran embassy on Stellar Prime and watched the sky shift from silver to pale blue. The alien world was beautiful in a strange and quiet way. Floating platforms drifted above the city, and long crystal towers glowed with soft light. Blake had seen dozens of council worlds in his career, but this one always made him feel like he was standing inside a dream. Today, however, the dream felt cold. Blake had served the Terran Defense Fleet for most of his life. His duty had taken him across the galaxy, fighting small border conflicts and escorting trade ships. He had seen how other species viewed humanity with both curiosity and caution. Still, he believed trust was possible. He believed alliances could hold. That belief felt weaker now. Behind him, Olivia Barnes walked onto the balcony. She carried a small data pad and wore the calm expression she was known for. Olivia was a diplomat, one of Earth's best, and she had spent years building relationships inside the Galactic Council. She had defended humanity in debates, negotiated trade routes, and tried to show the galaxy that humans were not the violent creatures some species claimed. "You look tense," Olivia said quietly. Blake turned to face her. "The Council wants something. I can feel it." The mood inside the building changed overnight. The delegates barely look at us. Something is wrong. Olivia rested her hands on the railing. "We have been waiting for this meeting for months. If they want to discuss new rules or new limits, we will deal with it. That's how diplomacy works." "That is how diplomacy works when both sides want peace," Blake replied. "I'm not sure they do." He paused for a moment. "Has Ethan reported anything?" Ethan Hale, one of Earth's security officers, had been inspecting the building and the surrounding area for any threats. He was younger than Blake but sharp and observant. If something felt off, Ethan would notice. "He sent a message an hour ago," Olivia said. "He said everything looked normal, but the security forces here seem more active than usual." Blake exhaled slowly. "More active? How much more?" "He counted twice the usual number of guards near the council chamber," Olivia said. "No weapons out but ready to move." Blake shook his head. "They are preparing for something. And whatever it is, they did not tell us." Olivia tried to smile, but the smile did not reach her eyes. "Let's hope this is only a misunderstanding." Inside the embassy, footsteps echoed down the hall. A young Terran officer appeared and gave a short nod. "Commander Carter, Diplomat Barnes, the Council has summoned the entire Terran delegation. We are expected in the chamber in 15 minutes. Blake and Olivia exchanged a look. Summoning an entire delegation was rare. Normally, only a few representatives were needed. "Thank you," Olivia said. The officer left quickly. Blake adjusted his uniform. "Whatever this is, we go in calm, no reaction. Let them speak first." Olivia nodded. "Agreed." They walked through the embassy halls and stepped into a hover transport waiting outside. Ethan Hale stood near the door, scanning the area. "Everything quiet?" Blake asked. "Too quiet," Ethan replied. "The council guards are moving in patterns that suggest containment." "Not security, containment." Blake felt his stomach tighten. Olivia looked at Ethan sharply. "Do you think they intend to restrict us?" "Possibly," Ethan said. "I cannot confirm anything, but I do not like the shift in their formations." He lowered his voice. "Be prepared for anything." The hover transport lifted gently into the air and flew toward the council spire. The city passed beneath them in long streaks of light. Blake watched the ground carefully, noting troop positions, patrol routes, and blocking points. He did not say anything, but he knew Olivia had noticed them too. The council spire was a massive circular structure made of white stone and blue energy beams. As they approached, the structure opened like a giant flower, revealing the glowing entrance to the chamber. A group of tall alien guards waited for them. Ethan stepped forward immediately. "Identification for the Terran delegation," he said firmly. The guards scanned their badges, but their eyes stayed focused and cold. They did not greet them. They did not speak. They simply stepped aside in stiff silence. Blake whispered, "This is not normal." They entered the chamber where hundreds of delegates from dozens of species sat in tiered circles. The platform at the center brightened as the Terrans were guided to their seats. Blake could feel hundreds of eyes on them. Olivia stood straight and looked forward with calm control. The High Speaker of the Council, a tall figure with shimmering skin, rose from the central podium. His voice echoed across the chamber. "Representatives of Earth," the High Speaker said, "today we gather to address a matter of grave concern." His tone was harsher than usual. The warmth he normally showed was absent. Olivia stepped forward politely. "We are prepared to listen and respond, High Speaker. May we hear the Council's concerns?" The High Speaker continued, "Humanity's development has accelerated far beyond the projections we were given. Your military technology has grown at an alarming rate. Your fleet has doubled in only 6 years, and the Council has watched your actions with increasing unease." Blake's jaw tightened. Olivia kept her voice steady. "Earth's development has been transparent. We have submitted every report required by the Council. Nothing has been hidden." Several alien delegates murmured. The High Speaker raised a hand. "It is the judgment of the Council that humanity cannot be allowed to expand unchecked. For the safety of the galaxy, new limits must be placed on Terran military production, effective immediately." Olivia froze for a moment, then spoke carefully. "Limits, without negotiation, without discussion. This is not the process agreed upon in our treaties." "The treaties have been revised," the High Speaker said. "A new pact has been formed between Council members. Earth is not included in this pact because humanity is the subject of it." Blake felt a rush of anger, but he forced himself to remain still. Ethan shifted his stance slightly, sensing danger. Olivia said, "You cannot impose restrictions on one world without due process. This is not a partnership. This is control." The High Speaker's eyes darkened. "This is survival." Before Olivia could respond, a loud metallic click echoed through the chamber. Blake turned his head sharply. Around the upper balconies, Council security forces stepped into view, holding their weapons in ready position. Their movements were not slow or symbolic. They were coordinated, precise. Ethan muttered under his breath, "Here it comes." The High Speaker raised his hand again, but this time the gesture was not for silence. It was a command. "By order of the Galactic Council," he declared, "the Terran delegation is now under protective containment. Any attempt to resist will be met with force." Blake rose from his seat instantly. "Protective containment is only used for hostile parties. We have done nothing hostile. This is an act of aggression." The High Speaker did not reply. Instead, the guards began to close in. Olivia whispered, "Blake, what now?" Ethan stepped between them and the guards, his stance tense and ready. "Follow me. We cannot stay here." The chamber broke into chaos. Delegates shouted. Some stood in confusion. Others turned away, clearly aware this attack had been planned long before the meeting. Ethan led them toward a side exit, moving fast but controlled. The guards reacted, shouting commands and blocking routes. Blake pushed through a narrow path while Olivia stayed close behind him. "This way," Ethan said, guiding them down a spiral passage. A blast shot across the hallway and struck the wall near Blake. The explosion pushed dust into the air. Olivia coughed. "They are firing at us. They cannot do this." "They already have," Ethan said. "Keep moving." They ran down the corridor as more guards appeared. Blake threw himself against a door panel and forced it open manually. The group rushed through as alarms echoed in every direction. Outside the chamber, Council guards spread through the building. Blake led the way, pushing through one hall after another. They were outnumbered but not helpless. Ethan knocked a guard aside and grabbed his stun baton. "We get to the transport. From there, we contact Earth." "The transport is still there," Blake said. Olivia breathed hard. "We have to try." They made their way past a security checkpoint. Blake disabled the controls with a quick strike of the baton. Sparks flew and the doors slid open halfway. They squeezed through. Finally, they reached the exit ramp outside the spire. The sky above them glowed with bright morning light. The Terran hover transport waited nearby. "Move," Ethan shouted. Blake pushed Olivia toward the transport as guards chased them from behind. Blaster shots burned through the air. Ethan fired back with the stolen weapon, forcing the guards to take cover. They reached the transport and Blake hit the control panel. The doors slid open. Olivia and Ethan jumped inside. Blake followed and slammed the door shut. "Go," Blake said. The pilot launched the transport into the air, speeding away from the spire. Olivia sat with her hands trembling. "We need to contact Earth immediately." Blake looked out the window as the Council spire shrank in the distance. "We will," he said, "and when we do, the Council will understand the gravity of what they have done." But deep inside, Blake already knew the truth. Diplomacy was over. The galaxy had changed in one violent moment. Humanity would not accept this attack, and Earth would answer. President Laura Grant stayed in the war room, feeling the pressure grow heavier every second. The lights in the room were dim, and the sound of typing filled the air as officers worked at their stations. Every screen showed a different part of the galaxy, all moving with quiet tension. Laura kept watching the update from Admiral Scott Hayes. She did not like giving orders that involved military action, but the Council had left her no choice. She cared deeply for the Terran delegation, and she also cared for every human living in the colonies. She knew the galaxy was watching Earth now. Their response would shape everything. General Harris stood beside her, looking calm but serious. "Madam President, more colonies are asking for instructions. They heard rumors about the Council's actions. It is getting difficult to control the information." Laura rubbed her forehead. "Tell them to activate defense shields if they have them. No aggressive movement. For now, Earth stays on alert only." The communication officer said, "Madam President, we are receiving signals from 3 Council species. They want a private conversation." "Reject all calls," Laura said. "No talks until we secure our people." She looked at the main map again. She thought about Blake, Olivia, Ethan, and the others trapped on Stellar Prime. She imagined them inside the embassy surrounded by Council guards. It angered her, but she stayed calm. She had learned long ago that anger was not leadership. Control was leadership. Clarity was leadership. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Admiral Hayes observed the aftermath of the Ithora strike. His fleet stayed cloaked, moving slowly to avoid detection. Hayes watched the sensor readings. The logistics station was disabled exactly as planned, and now hundreds of Council ships across distant systems found themselves unable to refuel or rearm quickly. It was a clean strike, efficient and quiet. An officer on his right said, "Admiral, the station is drifting, but it remains stable. No critical systems are failing." "Good," Hayes replied. "Keep scanning the area. If the Council sends a fleet here, we pull back. We are not starting a war." On Stellar Prime, Blake stood at the window of the Terran embassy, watching Council forces gather outside. Their vehicles formed a blockade around the building. Their energy shields glowed faintly in the evening light. Blake noticed something in their behavior. They were not rushing. They were not attacking. They looked unsure. This meant Earth's strike on Ithora had already reached them. Olivia was working on one of the consoles, trying to keep their communication lines open. "Council officers are sending new orders to their units," she said. "It looks like they want the blockade to hold, but they do not want to attack us yet." Ethan looked relieved. Earth scared them. They did not expect such a fast response. Blake placed a hand on the wall and sighed. Humanity was always seen as a young species, unpredictable, but they forgot something important. We learn fast. We adapt fast. They thought we would stay quiet and accept whatever they decided. Olivia nodded. But Earth did not attack civilians. That will matter later. Many species are watching us closely. Ethan returned from the security room with a small device. "I added more power to the shield emitters. If they try to break in, they will have a hard time, at least for a few hours." "Good work," Blake said. "Keep everyone inside calm. We cannot afford panic." Inside the embassy, dozens of humans waited for instructions. Some were frightened, others angry, but they all trusted Blake. He walked among them, reassuring them that Earth was already responding and that help would come. He told them what they needed to hear, even if the future was still uncertain. Back on Earth, the Terran High Command gathered in a conference call to speak with President Laura Grant. Each commander appeared on a different screen. Some were in orbital stations, others in deep bunkers. The first person to speak was Commander Ellis, who oversaw the colony defenses. "Madam President," Ellis said, "we now have confirmation that Council networks are struggling. Their main trade and supply lines are disrupted. Some of their fleets cannot reposition." "That was the goal," Laura replied, "to slow them down without taking lives." Another commander spoke. "We believe the Council will respond soon, but it is unclear how. Some of their members are already questioning the High Speaker's choice." General Harris added, "We must be ready for both possibilities, diplomacy reopening or war." Laura looked around the room. "We will always choose diplomacy first, but we will not let them harm our people again. For now, reinforce defense fields across all colonies and place our borders under silent watch. If the Council wants to talk, we will listen. If they want to attack, we will defend. Inside the embassy on Stellar Prime, Olivia managed to tap into a minor Council communication stream. She listened to the voices speaking in sharp tones. Earth's attack was surgical. No casualties. They are not acting like a rogue species. Perhaps the High Speaker moved too quickly. Perhaps humanity was not going to attack us. Do not question the order. We must regain control of the narrative before other members take Earth's side. Olivia replayed the recording to Blake and Ethan. This is bad for them, Blake said. They cannot agree among themselves. If some members lose faith, the Council will fracture. Olivia closed her eyes for a moment. We are caught in the middle of a huge political fight. They want to blame us, but their own people are seeing the truth. Ethan checked the window again. I think they are receiving new orders. The Council guards outside began reorganizing. Some looked agitated. Some appeared unsure. Blake realized what was happening. They do not know how to move forward. Earth hit them, but without brutality. They cannot use that to claim we are monsters. Inside the war room, Laura received new intelligence. An officer reported, several Council worlds are calling for an emergency meeting without the High Speaker. They want to discuss the attack on the Terran delegation. General Harris raised an eyebrow. They are turning on each other already. Laura did not smile, but she felt a small sense of hope. This is our chance. Prepare a message from Earth. Calm, controlled, clear. We will show the galaxy that humanity stands for justice, not fear. She turned to her team. Send a diplomatic broadcast stating that Earth did not initiate violence. The Council attacked our delegation and we acted in self-defense by disrupting their military logistics with 0 casualties. General Harris nodded. This will make their story weaker. Laura looked at the screen again. The galaxy deserves the truth. Meanwhile, the embassy faced a sudden surge in tension as a Council transport arrived. The vehicle landed just outside the blockade and several high-ranking officers stepped out. They spoke quickly with the guards. Blake noticed their worried movements. Ethan came rushing into the room. Commander, they are demanding access to the embassy. Not a request, a demand. They say they want to escort the Terran delegation to a safe facility. Blake clenched his jaw. A safe facility? They mean a prison. Olivia added, they want to force us into silence before Earth can speak. Blake walked toward the entrance hall. No one opens the doors, not for anything. The embassy security team stood ready. The Council officers approached the front doors and activated their communication panel. A voice spoke from outside. Humans, open the entrance. You will be transferred for your own security. Blake answered firmly. We decline. We are safe here. You tried to contain us once already. We will not trust you again. The voice replied, you do not have a choice. Blake stepped closer to the door. We always have a choice, and our choice is no. The officers outside muttered in frustration. The guards shifted uneasily. They began preparing equipment to break the door open. Ethan moved to Blake's side. They are going to try force. I can reinforce the inner barriers, but they will eventually break through. Blake nodded slowly. Stall them. If we can hold for a few more hours, Earth will turn the political tide. Olivia stepped forward. And if they break through before that, Blake looked at her with steady eyes. Then we protect our people, we do not surrender. The tension grew thicker as the Council forces activated heavy tools. Sparks flew as they tried to cut through the reinforced entrance. The humans inside backed away but stayed calm. Blake spoke loudly so everyone could hear him. Listen to me. We stand together. No panic. Earth knows we are here. Earth is already moving. We hold this ground until the galaxy understands what the Council did. The embassy shook again as the tools tore deeper into the outer frame. At that same moment across the galaxy, Earth's broadcast spread through communication networks. Dozens of species watched President Laura Grant deliver her message. She spoke with calm strength. The Terran delegation was attacked without warning. They were fired upon. We acted in defense. Our response harmed no civilians and destroyed no ecosystems. Earth seeks peace but will protect its people from betrayal. Many species listened. Many believed her. Some had suspected the Council was hiding something. Now they had proof. On Council worlds, protests began to rise. Citizens demanded answers from their leaders. They wanted to know why the Terrans had been attacked. They wanted to know why the Council had lied. Back on Stellar Prime, the Council officers outside the embassy stopped cutting the door. They looked at their communication screens in confusion. They had received the broadcast. They read the public reactions. They saw the political chaos forming across the galaxy. Blake noticed the change in their behavior. "They are hesitating," he said quietly. Olivia hurried to check the intercepted Council channels. She smiled a little. "They are afraid to continue. If they break into the embassy now, the galaxy will see them as aggressors. They cannot risk that." Ethan let out a breath of relief. "So we are safe, for now," Blake said. "The Council has to think before acting again." Inside the war room, Laura received a message from a neutral species representative. "Madam President," the officer said, "they want to meet with Earth. They say they believe our story." Laura replied, "Tell them Earth is open to dialogue. But we will not accept any demands that put our people in danger." The officer nodded. "Yes, Madam President." In the embassy, night fell on Stellar Prime. The stars outside were quiet and distant. Blake stayed awake, watching every movement. Olivia sat beside him. "You look tired," she said softly. "I am," Blake replied, "but I cannot rest yet. Too much depends on what happens next." Olivia looked out the window. Earth acted with honor. That made a difference. "It did," Blake said. "And now the galaxy is watching the Council, not us." Ethan joined them. "Does this mean we won?" Blake shook his head. "No, this means the fight has changed, but Earth has shown what it can do, and the Council knows we are not the weak species they thought." The embassy remained quiet as the night continued. The humans inside felt hope returning. They knew the Council had made the first move. They also knew Earth had answered with precision, strength, and restraint. And for the first time, many in the galaxy began to wonder if humanity was not something to fear, but something to respect. Because the strike Earth made had shaken the galaxy, and this was only the beginning. The news of Earth's strike spread faster than anyone expected. Across hundreds of worlds, people gathered in public squares, looking up at large screens as the reports played again and again. They watched the Ithora logistics hub fall apart in bright flashes of light. They listened to Earth's calm broadcast. They compared the two stories, the Council's accusation and Earth's explanation. Many people began asking questions. Many no longer trusted the Council's version. Inside the Galactic Council headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. Delegates argued loudly. Some shouted across the chamber. Others whispered while watching their communication screens. Reports came in from every direction. Protests, demands, confusion. It felt as if the Council itself was cracking open. The High Speaker stood at the center platform trying to restore order, but his voice no longer carried the same power. Delegates ignored him or interrupted him. Some called him reckless. Some accused him of leading the Council into a crisis. One delegate, a tall figure with blue armor, rose from his seat. "You told us Earth was preparing for war," he said. "You told us they were dangerous, and now we see their strike had no casualties. It was controlled. It was measured. How do you explain this?" The High Speaker replied. "They targeted our military infrastructure. That alone proves their aggressive intent." Another delegate stood. "But you did not tell us about the attack on their delegation. The reports show they were fired upon. You kept that information from us." The chamber erupted again with shouting. The High Speaker clenched his teeth. He had expected Earth to retreat or panic. He had expected the galaxy to support him. Instead, the situation was slipping out of his hands. Meanwhile, on Stellar Prime, the Terran embassy was calmer now. The Council forces outside remained in place, but they no longer tried to break in. They waited, unsure of their orders. The embassy lights glowed softly through the night. Blake, Olivia, and Ethan remained awake, listening to every signal they could pick up. In the early hours of the morning, Olivia discovered a new broadcast. "Blake, listen to this," she said. "Several Council worlds are demanding an investigation. They want to know who ordered the attack on us. They think it was a secret faction." Blake leaned in. "So they are starting to fight among themselves." Ethan grinned slightly. "Good, they deserve it." Olivia shook her head. "This is dangerous. When powerful groups argue, they can act unpredictably." Blake rubbed the bridge of his nose. "True, but at least it buys us time." Inside the embassy, the humans had settled into a careful routine. The security team took turns monitoring the entrances. Engineers checked the backup power system. Some members of the delegation sent small private messages to their families, telling them they were safe for now. The fear was still present, but hope was stronger now. Around midday, Blake gathered Olivia and Ethan for an update. "Earth's strike hit them harder than we thought," he said. "The council is panicking. They thought we were easy to control. Now they see we are not." Olivia nodded. "And because Earth avoided casualties, they cannot use the strike as an excuse to launch a larger war." Ethan checked his handheld device. "Commander, a small group of council representatives is outside the embassy. They are asking for a meeting, not an order this time, a request." Blake raised an eyebrow. "Interesting, they must be scared of how the galaxy sees them." Olivia looked thoughtful. "Should we meet them?" "Not yet," Blake said. "We cannot trust them. They could be trying to trick us again. We wait until Earth sends instructions." Inside the war room on Earth, President Laura Grant was reviewing new intelligence reports. The room was brighter now, filled with activity. Officers moved quickly, updating the status of fleets and colonies. The atmosphere was tense but not fearful. Earth had made its move, and now the galaxy was reacting. General Harris approached Laura with a data pad. "Madam President, several member species have sent messages. They want to speak privately with Earth. They believe the Council acted in secret when they attacked the Terran delegation." "Good," Laura said. "Arrange the conversations, but nothing is agreed yet. We listen first." A communications officer turned from his station. "Madam President, a live feed from the Council chamber is available. They are in chaos." Laura walked to the screen. Delegates shouted at each other, waving documents and pointing fingers. Some demanded the High Speaker step down. Others threatened to leave the Council if no answers were given. General Harris said, "They are cracking." Earth's response hit their political core. Laura watched the screen quietly. Earth did not cause this. Their own choices did. Back on Stellar Prime, the Council representatives outside the embassy finally received new orders. They stepped back and spoke quietly among themselves. Blake watched from the window. "They look uncertain," Ethan said. "Like they do not know why they are even here anymore." Olivia joined them. "They probably heard the public outcry. Breaking into the Terran embassy would make everything worse for them." Blake nodded. "Whatever the Council planned, it is falling apart." Later that afternoon, Olivia received a secure message from Earth. She read it carefully, then turned to Blake. "Earth wants us to stay in the embassy," she said. "Do not leave. Do not meet the Council. Wait for Earth to negotiate directly." Blake smiled slightly. "Smart. It shows we are not running or hiding. We are standing our ground." As they spoke, a loud sound echoed across the city. It was not an explosion. It was a deep tone, like a warning bell. Blake looked out the window and saw Council ships taking formation above the capital. Ethan frowned. "What are they doing now?" Olivia accessed the city network. Her eyes widened. "They are deploying their defense fleet, not against us, against their own people. They are trying to suppress the protests." Blake felt a heavy feeling settle in his chest. The High Speaker is losing control. This is his attempt to stay in power. Across the galaxy, protests grew stronger. On distant worlds, citizens marched in the streets holding signs. Some demanded peace with Earth. Others demanded answers from the Council. Videos spread showing delegates shouting and arguing. Some members of the Council even began publicly blaming the High Speaker. On one world, a large crowd gathered outside their government building, chanting for truth. On another world, a peaceful protest turned tense when local authorities tried to break it up. In yet another system, military commanders refused to carry out orders to prepare for war with Earth. The galaxy was changing. Back in the Council chamber, the High Speaker slammed his hand on the podium. "We must regain control. Earth is manipulating public opinion. They want to break the Council." A delegate shouted back, "If the Council falls, it is because you hid the truth." Another delegate stood. "You forced this crisis. You attacked Earth's delegation. Now your actions are being exposed." The High Speaker's eyes glowed with anger. "Earth is dangerous. They must be contained." But the room no longer feared him. A group of delegates walked to the center platform. One of them, a respected elder from a neutral world, spoke calmly. "The Council acted without transparency. The Council attacked without proof. The Council placed the galaxy in danger. We demand a formal investigation." The chamber fell silent. Behind the scenes, Council guards exchanged uneasy looks. Some whispered about the growing unrest. Some wondered if the council might collapse. Meanwhile, on Earth, Laura received word of the investigation demand. She nodded slowly. "This is good," she said. "They will be forced to expose the truth, and the truth is on our side." General Harris agreed. "But we should stay alert. A wounded council can still lash out." Laura knew he was right. The crisis was far from over. Back at the Terran embassy, night fell again. The city lights shimmered through the windows. Blake walked the halls, speaking quietly with the delegation members. He found Olivia in the communication room, staring at her screen. "Anything new?" Blake asked. "Yes," Olivia said softly. "The protests are growing. Some species are even asking Earth to step in as a mediator. They believe we are more honest than the Council." Blake blinked in surprise. "Earth acting as a mediator, that is new." Olivia smiled weakly. "The galaxy likes strength, but they respect restraint. Earth showed both." Ethan walked in, wiping his hands after checking the generators. "The Council forces outside look restless. Some of them look like they might leave." Blake sighed. "If they leave, it means the Council cannot enforce anything anymore." Olivia stood. "Blake, what if the Council falls apart? What happens then?" Blake leaned against the wall. "If the Council collapses, the galaxy will enter a dangerous period. Old rivalries, new alliances. Chaos, but maybe a better system could rise, one that respects us." Olivia looked thoughtful. "Maybe, but first we survive tonight, then we survive the next week." Blake nodded, "one step at a time." Later that evening, a quiet knock came at the inner hallway door. A young human officer entered. "Commander," she said, "we intercepted a private council message. It is from several delegates. They want to meet with Earth. They want peace, and they want to expose the High Speaker." Blake felt something shift in the air. A new path was opening. Ethan smiled. "So the Council is breaking." Olivia whispered. "Earth changed everything with one precise strike." Blake nodded. "A galaxy built on fear is starting to see the truth." The night outside was calm, but the tension inside every world was growing. The Council's authority was shaking. The galaxy was questioning the old rules, and Earth, once dismissed as a young and unpredictable species, now stood in the center of everything. Because humanity had answered the Council's betrayal not with rage, not with destruction, but with strength and precision. And now the galaxy wondered what Earth would do next. The galaxy entered a strange and quiet tension. For the first time in decades, the Galactic Council no longer appeared strong. Their authority was cracking, and everyone could see it. The events on Stellar Prime had spread like fire, touching every world. Protests grew in streets, communication channels overflowed with debates, and small government groups argued fiercely about who to trust. Some supported the Council. Many did not. Humanity had become a symbol of resistance against corruption. Inside the Terran embassy on Stellar Prime, the tension slowly shifted from fear to cautious hope. Blake, Olivia, Ethan, and the rest of the delegation stayed inside under tight security. The Council blockade was still present, but it looked weaker. Some guards looked frustrated, others looked ashamed, a few even looked afraid. Blake watched from the main window early in the morning. The sun had just risen, painting the sky in soft purple and blue. It was peaceful, a sharp contrast to everything happening inside the Council itself. Olivia entered the room quietly. "You're awake early," she said. Blake nodded. "Too much on my mind." "Anything new outside?" "They're confused," Blake said. "They don't know what their leaders are doing anymore. And they know Earth's message changed the situation." Olivia walked beside him and looked out the window. "I never thought the galaxy would turn like this. I thought diplomacy would always be the answer." Blake sighed. "Diplomacy only works when both sides respect honesty. The Council lied, and now they're falling apart." Ethan suddenly rushed into the room with a tablet. His face showed a mix of excitement and disbelief. "You need to hear this," he said, out of breath. "The Council just scheduled an emergency galaxy-wide broadcast, but that's not all. A group of delegates has officially demanded the High Speaker's removal." Olivia blinked. "Already?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, many worlds refuse to support the Council unless they investigate the attack on us." Blake crossed his arms. "So it begins." The broadcast began only minutes later. Every screen inside the embassy flickered to life. A large chamber appeared, the council hall, but it no longer looked orderly. Many seats were empty. Others were filled by angry or nervous delegates. The high speaker stood alone at the center, looking tired and desperate. He spoke with a strained voice. "Members of the galaxy, I urge you to remain unified. Do not let Earth manipulate you. Their recent actions—" He was interrupted by a delegate who stepped into the center circle. She was tall, calm, and respected by many. "High Speaker," she said, "Earth harmed no civilians, but you attacked their delegation. You hid the truth from us. You lied to your own council." Her voice echoed throughout the chamber. Another delegate stood. "We demand your resignation." The High Speaker slammed his hand on the podium. "You fools, Earth is preparing for war if we show weakness," a third delegate interrupted. "Earth acted with restraint, you did not." The chamber erupted into shouting again. The broadcast ended suddenly when the council cut the feed. Inside the embassy, Olivia sat slowly in a chair. Losing control completely, Ethan let out a long breath. The council is breaking apart in front of the entire galaxy. Blake stood quietly thinking. This is what happens when power is built on fear instead of trust. Hours later, Earth contacted the embassy with an urgent message. Olivia opened it immediately. The screen displayed President Laura Grant. "Commander Carter, Diplomat Barnes," Laura said. "The situation is changing quickly. Many member species have contacted Earth privately. They want peace, they want reform, and they want to work with us." Olivia smiled softly. "That's good news," Laura nodded. "But the High Speaker is still dangerous. He may try something desperate. You must stay inside until we negotiate a safe extraction." Blake asked, "How long will that take?" "We are close," Laura said. "A large group of council members is preparing to break away from the High Speaker's control. Once they do, they will protect you openly." Ethan crossed his arms. "And if he strikes before that happens?" Laura looked serious. "Then Earth will respond again, and this time the entire galaxy may stand with us." The message ended. The rest of the day felt slow and heavy, as if the galaxy was holding its breath. Blake walked the halls, checking on the delegation. Olivia monitored communication lines and kept a close eye on political movements. Ethan oversaw the embassy defenses, ensuring nothing caught them by surprise. Late in the evening, a strange silence settled outside. Blake noticed first. The guards were no longer shifting positions or receiving new instructions. Instead, groups of them were talking quietly among themselves. Some were lowering their weapons. Ethan approached the window. Something's happening. Seconds later, a small council transport arrived, not full of guards, but with only 3 delegates wearing ceremonial robes. They walked slowly toward the embassy entrance. Blake, Olivia, and Ethan met the embassy security team at the main hall. The delegates outside activated the communication panel. A calm voice spoke. "This is Representative Soria. We ask for a peaceful meeting. We come without weapons." Blake exchanged a look with Olivia. "They want to talk." Olivia nodded. "Earth said some factions were turning against the High Speaker. These must be the ones." Blake pressed the panel. "State your purpose." Representative Soria replied, "The council has fractured. Many now see the High Speaker as a threat to peace. We want to ensure your delegation's safety, and we want to negotiate with Earth directly. Please allow us inside." Blake hesitated for a long moment, then spoke. "Enter slowly. No sudden movements." The doors opened. The 3 delegates walked in with visible respect. Ethan and the security team watched them closely. Inside the meeting room, the conversation felt heavy but hopeful. Representative Soria spoke first. "We apologize for the attack on your delegation," she said. "Many of us did not know what the High Speaker planned. We were misled. We want to correct this." Olivia responded calmly. "Earth asks for truth, accountability, and peace. Nothing more." Soria nodded. "We understand, and we support an investigation. We also support Earth having an equal voice in the new council that will form once the High Speaker is removed." Blake studied her face. "You want Earth to help rebuild the council?" "Yes," Soria said. "Your actions were strong but controlled. Many worlds respect that. They believe Earth can bring balance." Ethan whispered, "This galaxy is full of surprises." The delegates continued, explaining that many species were prepared to stand against the High Speaker. They wanted Earth to know they understood the difference between defense and aggression. They also believed humanity deserved a proper place in galactic politics. After the meeting, the delegates left quietly. Blake felt something he had not felt since arriving on Stellar Prime, a sense of safety. Later that night, the galaxy changed again. The high speaker attempted a final broadcast. His face looked pale and frantic. "Earth seeks to overthrow the council," he shouted. "You must not trust them, they are corrupt." "They are." Suddenly several delegates stepped into view. They announced that the high speaker was removed from power. He was placed under arrest for treason, abuse of authority, and endangering the galaxy. Across hundreds of worlds, crowds cheered. Some cried, some fell silent in disbelief. Blake watched the broadcast inside the embassy. Olivia sat beside him, overwhelmed with emotion. "It's over," she whispered. Ethan stood behind them. "I can't believe it. The galaxy actually united against him." Blake nodded. "He pushed too far, and Earth showed the galaxy another way." Within hours, the council blockade around the embassy dissolved. The guards lowered their weapons and stepped aside. New transports arrived, carrying delegates from the newly formed Reconstruction Council. They escorted the Terran delegation out with dignity and respect. As Blake stepped onto the landing platform, he looked back at the embassy one last time. He remembered how trapped they had felt 2 days ago and how different the galaxy now seemed. Olivia walked beside him. "We survived." Blake smiled quietly. "No, we did more than survive. We changed the galaxy." A new message arrived from Earth. President Laura Grant appeared again on the screen. "The Reconstruction Council has agreed to a new treaty," she said. "Earth will have an equal seat. The attempt to restrict us has been removed, and the truth about the betrayal will be public." Ethan let out a deep breath. "We did it." Blake looked at the stars above Stellar Prime. "Earth did it. Humanity did it." As their transport rose into the sky, Blake felt hope spreading across the galaxy like a bright, unstoppable wave. Earth had not sought war. Earth had not wanted violence, but Earth had answered when attacked, and answered with strength, discipline, and honesty. And now every world understood something new. Humanity would not start a war, but humanity would end one if forced. The galaxy was shaken, but a new order was rising, one built on truth. One built with Earth included, not as an outsider, not as a minor voice, but as an equal. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy listened.